Hello, and welcome to today's episode. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic that I deem literally the most important topic of all when it comes to family and legacies. And I am talking about the father factor. And this relates to strength, leadership, and legacy. So, today, we're going to be breaking down the father factor, and that speaks to who fathers are, their role in the family, and how that rolls up into the community and society at large. Make no mistake, this is the most important topic when it comes to family. And I know that we so much hype women and mothers and all that we do. I mean, we literally have like 3 Mother's Day celebrations. But honestly, I truly think we should have more than one when it comes to fathers. And I'll tell you why. So are you ready? Let's get into the details. Okay, so today we're talking about fathers, the father factor. And here's why I say fatherhood is really an important aspect of the family. In fact, the most important aspect of family. Because when God was starting creation, he started with Adam. And yes, you could argue that Adam had both Adam and Eve, the male and female version within him. That's true. But when he set up, he started with Adam in terms of hierarchy and order, and that was the male. The female was called out of the male, and then the family structure or foundation was set up. So there is a hierarchy in God, even as there is in the church as of today. The male, the female, or the father, the mother, and then the children. That structure is not an error. It's not a mistake. It is God's original design. And it was meant to be because that is the proper structure that supports a building. I mean, let's talk about this. No matter what kind of structure you want to put on, you remember that you need to lay the foundation. Fathers are like so. They are foundations that need to be set and put in place properly in order to ensure that the building can stand. And no wonder we're having so many dysfunctions when it comes to society and the community at large, because when it comes to the basic structure of the family, most of the time, the father factor has either been neglected, ignored, or completely absent. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. The first point I'm going to raise is leadership. When you talk about fatherhood, you talk about leadership. But before, or what generates the leadership is actually realizing that fatherhood, or the word father, means source. And that's a powerful word to consider when it comes to fatherhood, or the term that we call father. God himself is called our father because he is our source. And the father, when it comes to the family structure, is seen as the source. And what does that source relate to? Whether you're talking about provision, whether you're talking about guidance, whether you're talking about support, whether you're talking about advice, whatever aspect of the family that is required, the father is the source of all the positivity and the guidance and the leadership, whatever is positive that's required in the home to get it right. Let me put it this way. He is the leader. And let me use the word servant leader. And what that means is, if there's going to be structure in the home, the father is the source. If there's going to be love in the home, the father is the source. If there's going to be adequate provision in the home, the father is the source. Let's not worry about how, of course, the women come in and they implement, the father sets the tone and all of that. There's a place the mothers or the women play. But when it comes to setting or the source of everything, it is the father. I wouldn't ordinarily want to talk about the flip side, but unfortunately that is the case. So when there is chaos, there's dysfunction, there is lack of leadership and all of that in the home, the father is the source. And that's the truth, because whether it's good, bad, or whatever, the father is actually the source. The mother draws from the father and implements. That's why, as they say, whatever the woman is provided with or the mother is provided with, she multiplies. If she's given love, direction, provision, she'll multiply it within the home. But if the home is lacking in that, then we need to look to the father, to the source. And I'll give you biblical examples. In Genesis, when God was talking about Abraham, he said, I know Abraham. He will command his household after me. That's a very profound statement for the Creator, God himself, to say about a man. But he wasn't just speaking to Abraham as a man. He was speaking to Abraham as the father and the structure that he has set in place. Let's not forget that he had told Abraham, you are the father of many nations, and he gave him that name. And so he expected that Abraham was going to live up to that standard, and he had seen qualities in Abraham that made him believe that Abraham was capable, and Abraham understood the gravity of the role that had been entrusted to him. And this leads me to my second point, the fact that fathers are the carriers of the vision. And that's a very important factor when it comes to fatherhood. In a home and in a family, the father needs to understand that he is the carrier of the vision. And you know, as the Bible says, where there is no vision, the people perish. Literally, that's what happens in a home. If the father fails to realize that he is the visionary in the home and plays that role, knowing that he's the source of the vision, he's the source of the guidance, whatever that family is going to become, whatever promises or plans or purpose that God has for that unit as a family, the father is the trustee. He is the bearer of that vision, and he needs to carry it with grace, with awareness, with humility, and with deep, should I say, subservience to God. Let's look at the role of Jesus. When Jesus came, he said, "Whatever I have seen my Father do, that I do." Jesus was big on talking about or speaking about his Father, and that's because he wanted to make it clear that when we talk about fatherhood, there is no direction, no instruction, no guidance, no activity, no action, no plan, no purpose that can be sustained or that can survive or that can be replicated without it flowing from the Father. That was why he was very, very, very deliberate about talking about the Father and his Father. He said, "When you've seen me, you've seen my Father. I do what my Father says. I walk while yet it is day because my Father is working." He kept making references to his Father because he wanted us to understand that fatherhood and that role, Father, is the source and literally the most important foundation that can be laid for any structure. I hope that resonated with you. Now let's talk about a very important point, or should I say question, that people raise and say, how about if the father is nowhere to be seen? Very, very real, a very real and relatable question, because this is something that's happening very prevalently within our society. Fathers are missing in actions, and not just fathers who are physically absent. There are a lot of fathers that are physically present but absent in every other way. Literally, they're not taking on the role, they're not bearing the burden, they're not carrying the vision, they are not rolling out the plans, and those ones are literally absent. In fact, sometimes it's actually worse because they look like they're there, but what happens is, unfortunately, they are passing the wrong, they're laying the wrong foundations for the family and for the children that are coming after. Because, you know, whether or not you are actively teaching your child or leading or role modeling a particular behavior or character, you actually are. So if you're not doing it, what you are modeling is, this is not being done. You are modeling the negative aspect or the negative side of what you should actually be modeling, whether it's leadership, structure, guidance, kindness, love, whatever it is. So if the father is absent, either physically or emotionally, then that gap is exposed. And what happens is that the structure and the hierarchy that God originally intended is tampered with. And guess what? That exactly was the devil's plan. And that leads me to my very next point. Let's talk about what happened in the Garden of Eden, because it is actually the devil's original plan for the father's role to be jeopardized. You see, the devil understood from the beginning God's structure. He understood the hierarchy that God had set in motion. He understood that the father is actually the foundation and the carrier of the vision. And that's why, if you've never thought about it, why was it that when the devil went to Eve and deceived Eve, Eve ate of the fruit, right? But nothing seemed to happen. But when Adam ate that fruit, all hell broke loose. Why is that? Because Adam is the one who carried the vision, the purpose, and the assignment. And by default, he carried the authority. So when Adam missed it, the whole structure toppled. Oh, shit. The entire structure toppled. And here's why. Adam lost his authority, he lost his place, and the foundation and the structure that God had built everything on crumbled. Imagine if the foundation is faulty of the house that you are building. What happens to the entire building? at a point or at one time or the other, the entire building is going to come down. It doesn't matter what you put on it. Doesn't matter how many pillars you put to support. If the foundation is faulty, we're in trouble. I mean, the Bible even says, if the foundation be destroyed, what can the righteous do? It is a huge, you know, it's so important to know that the foundation needs to be strong, steady, and sure, right? And that's where the father's role comes in. It's almost like a background thing, but at the same time, at the forefront, because while he's the source, he's also the leader. So the role is dual and so important because everything else happens in between. So when those two roles are tampered with, there's literally chaos, or at the best, if the woman is able to carry that role, she bears a heavy burden and a gap is left, because the truth is that role was created by God for a purpose. At best, a woman is able to just sustain the home or manage things, but that real vision and picture that God had in mind when he set up that particular family may be completely jeopardized. You see, I always say something. I say, what the man can achieve based on his authority as the father, the woman cannot, even when she doubles twice that effort. If she puts twice the effort she would normally put in, she still will not be able to achieve the results that the man in his natural place of authority will achieve as a father. And that's something to definitely think about. So fathers, today I'm charging you, and mothers who have the husbands or kids with the role of the fathers, encourage the fathers, encourage your husband, encourage the men in your life, because it's really not an easy role to play. It's a heavy one. I don't think I've ever heard anyone who comes in and says, the foundation of this house is good. No. But most of them say, this structure is nice, the pillar, the fittings, and all of that. Sometimes that's how the role of the father can be. It's like no one sees it unless it's absent, and then it becomes conspicuous. But that's not to say that it's not important. That's not to say that it's less important. In fact, it is the most important thing, because it is that structure that needs to be in place so that every other thing can shine. So please, fathers, let us bear these roles importantly. Mothers, let us encourage and support and help and pray for the fathers to ensure that this role is executed as God designed. When this is in place, then the devil literally has no place. I remember Miles Morris once said, he said, all the dysfunction and all the problems we have in society is because of dysfunction in the home. And that's the absolute truth. When the family unit is fixed and the hierarchy is in place and the father is playing his role as ordained by God and the mother, then it rolls up into society, because in the first place, that was how what we call society started. So until we go back to the basic and get it fixed from the beginning, we may never truly see the healing and the correction that we expect society to become. So finally, as I start to wrap up, when we talk about strength, when we talk about leadership and legacy as it relates to fatherhood, what we're talking about is not the physical muscles. It's not even about the fact that the Bible said women are the weaker vessel. And to be honest, that's not even what the Bible meant there. But let's even talk about it. It's not about the physical strength alone. Not that that doesn't count, because there are places where that physical strength is required from the man or the father in the home. But beyond that, and more importantly, is that quiet strength, that base, that strong structure that is provided by the man when it comes to leadership, guidance, support, and laying out the vision. This is where the strength of the father is required. When different situations come up, rather than panic, the man of the home can pray. Rather than be confused, the man can provide clarity. Rather than operate in a scarcity mindset, the man provides abundance in mindset even before it translates to the physical things. It is the man who is playing the role of the father that can say, we're not broke. We're not poor, even though it may look like it, because he's looking onto something greater. He understands that he's drawing from a supply, and he is the one who is able to provide that mindset, that clarity, that hope in the home. It is so powerful, it's so important. And once that is in place, the children can thrive, the children can blossom, the woman can build on it and provide that warmth, that love and everything, because she's able to draw from the man as the support, as the guide, as the head. Frankly, if the men are not the ones leading, why would God say the woman is to help? The help is not the visionary, the help is to support. But something needs to be there to be supported. So the support cannot become more important than what is being supported. It cannot stand as what is being supported when it was actually originally meant to play the role of support. So this is the reason why it is so important that the father factor is protected. If there's anything that needs to be prayed for, to be supported, to be acknowledged, it is the role of the father. And that's why I said if it were possible to have more celebration around the Father's Day, then it's absolutely important that we do it. And even if we cannot make it a national or an international day, but we can do it at the home level, we can do it at the community level, we can do it at the society level. So here's what I'm going to charge you today. That man, that father, or that one who's not already a biological father, but playing the role of a father in whatever way. Maybe that young man who turned out to become the father in the home because the father is physically absent or was never there from the beginning or has passed on. Whoever it is, whoever is that male person who is playing the role of a father, let's reach out to that person. Let's support them. Let's pray for them. Let's acknowledge the effort and the support that they play, because in truth, it's truly not easy. And just as I wrap up, here's one thing I want to point out. We have put so much emphasis on the girl child, on the woman, on the female, on the mother, on the wife. We're teaching, we're educating, we're supporting, we're praying, we're acknowledging, we're celebrating. We need to shift the focus as well. Or maybe not shift the focus, but include within that focus the male factor, the father factor. Because those boys need to be encouraged, they need to be trained, they need to be supported, they need to be educated, they need to be encouraged, they need to be acknowledged, they need to feel visible, so that they are also able to play the role that they should. Because if all the attention goes to the girl child, the female, the young girl, and then the woman and the wife and the mother, without giving enough role and support to the men, then at the end of the day, we may be jeopardizing society and the proper structure that it requires to thrive. So find that man, find that male figure, find that father, and encourage him and pray for him today. And if you could, say a word of prayer or thank you or gratitude to that man so that he feels seen and supported. So if all that we've shared today and we've talked about today blessed you or touched you in one way or the other, there are two things I'd like you to do. First, share it with a male figure in your life, because I think this would definitely encourage them. And also for people who have those males in their life, so that they can adequately support and appreciate them. And secondly, if you haven't liked this video, what are you waiting for? If you haven't shared it with someone, you are wrong. Go ahead and share this video. I'd also like to read your comments. If you have questions, please comment in the video and I will definitely respond to you. So till I come your way next episode, stay blessed and acknowledge and appreciate the fathers in your life.